explain what you are saying about when it comes to the Milky Way galaxy and where our solar system is currently in the Milky Way galaxy is constantly changing, right? And is it our solar system goes around the whole Milky Way galaxy, does one rotation in what, like 100 and something, 200 million years?
Yeah, 230 million years.
230 million years. We make a full rotation around the Milky Way galaxy.
Yes.
That's crazy. And each rotation, we go in and out of the arms.
Yes. And the arms are not sort of material arms. It's actually a wave phenomena on top of all the stars that are moving around. And the reason that they look more bright is because that's where you make a disturbance, and that's where you have the star formation. And that's also where the young stars that are large stars are, and they're much more bright. So that's why you see the spiral arms as bright arms. Mm-hmm. And we are moving in and out of these regions. And when you have more star formations, that's also the places where the large star explodes. And the large star that explodes are the ones that produce the cosmic rays. So when you are in a spiral arm, you get much more cosmic rays. And the changes are, maybe 300% change in the amount of cosmic rays.
Wow.
And then opposite, when you go between spiral arms, then...
Can you show? Do you have like an image of this that we can see to give it a better understanding of it?
If you look at number 31.
31. So these bright spirals that we see, this is where you're saying a lot of the new stars are born and dying?
That is where the new stars are born. A lot of stars is born, and new stars are dying. I should say that I work closely with a guy called Nir Shavib. He's a professor in Israel, and I worked with him for many years. He's the one that took up this idea. So he's the one that he made this idea that when we go through spiral arms, it should be important for climate on Earth.
Really?
And each time we are in a spiral arm, there seems to be a glaciation on the Earth, so it's a cold climate. And I can show you...
When we're in the spiral arm, it becomes very cold.
Yes, because you have more cosmic rays, and more cosmic rays mean more clouds, and clouds are cooling.
Right. Wow. Okay, so what is it about... Why are more stars being born and also exploding in these spiral arms?
It's simply because in the Milky Way galaxy, it's like a disk, and in the disk there's a lot of gas in the form of hydrogen, and hydrogen is the basic element in stars. So what is happening is that you have sort of a disturbance along the spiral arms of the gas, and that makes the gas sort of collapse, and it becomes more and more dense, and then at the end it ignites the stars.
Whoa!
And when you ignite the stars, you are actually producing a whole range of different size stars, and some of them will be the heavy ones that because they are heavy. They burn very strongly, and they don't live very long. So you only live maybe between 3 and 15 million years, and that's a short time compared to the rotation. So the very, very bright stars, they are typically have a short lifetime in close to the spiral arms, and that's why you get more cosmic rays in the spiral arms.
Wow, that's so hard to comprehend. Just the scale you're talking about. Like you're able to explain what's happening, chemically within the entire Milky Way galaxy. It's so crazy. And so where is on this giant diagram of the Milky Way galaxy, where is our solar system roughly?
Well, you can see there's the sun location with the star in the bottom. So we are about 1 or 2 thirds outside. And we are actually moving around the galaxy, the center of the galaxy, within about these 240 million years, and then we go in and out of the spiral arms.
So let me ask you. This might be a dumb question. This might be the might not be the right person to ask. But are we moving away from the center of the Milky Way galaxy consistently, or is it staying about the same?
It's staying about the same. I mean, it's not a perfect circle, of course,
Right.
But because there are some disturbances, but it is more or less for all practical, we can call it a circle around the galactic center.
Is it?
The sun is what we call a disk star, and all the disk stars are moving around the galaxy.
Why is it a disk star?
It means that it's because when you have star formation, many times they are born in a cluster. So you have many stars that are bound together by gravity. Do you want to see this process?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, then go to number 57. It's simulation.
Okay.
So you can see how.
Perfect. So you're talking about like binary star systems?
So here you have a gas cloud, and
Okay.
it has been disturbed, and now it will start collapsing, and you will have star formation, and you will produce a large number of stars. You can see a lot of. So this small white is actually stars that are igniting.
Oh wow.
So
What is that stuff that's like popping out of them?
that is gas that is being accelerated and thrown out. And I even think in this there is a supernova going off. You can see that they throw out some stuff.
Wow.
So at this time, these stars are all from the same cloud. So you can say all these stars are siblings in the sense that
In the same cloud.
yes. And then what happens? At some point, I think it ends. You can sort of zoom out a little bit, and you can see that you have what we call an open cluster. This is an open cluster of clouds.
So what we're looking at right now,
Is star formation.
this is star formation, right?
Yeah.
But like on the, can you give me like a relative scale?
Yeah, it's probably 150,000 years or something like that.
This is about 150,000 years. And how big are each of these stars that we're looking at compared to like our sun?
They are probably, many of them are smaller and some of them are bigger. They form after. I mean, it's always formed. There you had a supernova going off actually. But you see, it's like this is what we call an open stellar cluster. And the reason I'm showing that, it's because I have been using open stellar clusters to go even further into this problem on the long time scales.
Superstellar clusters.
Open stellar clusters. Open. Yeah, because you remember we started asking the question why it's a disk star.
Exactly. Yeah.
So here you have stars which are part of a cluster. So what is happening is that they sort of move in between, and there might be some disturbances, and then the stars they sort of fall off. So the gravity can no longer keep a star bound, and when it falls off, it becomes a disk star. So our sun probably also was born in this way.
And then it eventually just like drifts out.
And it eventually drifts out. Yes.
So there could be no life in one of these clusters. It's too hot, too many stars.
Well, it's very young at this point, right? So it hasn't had time to evolve. But there probably will be planets and so on around some of these stars. Yes.
Inside this cluster.
Yes, there will be start the formation. I mean, now we know that nearly all stars have planetary formation.
Wow.
So,
That is bananas.
So, if you go to number 34, What I'm showing you here is the number of. If you in the middle there, in the middle of this circle, that's where the solar system is. And after these dots is an open stellar cluster. So these are open stellar clusters. That is a group of stars, and the color, it says something about how old the cluster is.
Oh.
And you can see most of them are about 100 million years.
So the dark purple at the bottom is how old?
100 million years.
And what's the red?
And red is 1 billion years.
1 billion.
And you see there's very few of the old ones. And that's
Not many old ones.
No, and that's because they have evaporated. So all the stars have been falling off, so they no longer exist.
So they exploded?
No, they fall off, so they're no longer a cluster. So it drops stars, and each time you have fewer and fewer, and in the end, there's nothing left. So they're all becoming disk stars.
If you enjoy watching our show on Spotify or YouTube and you want to be more involved, I encourage you to please come check out our Patreon community. Not only does our Patreon community get every episode you see on YouTube early, fully uncensored, and ad-free, but we're also doing Patreon exclusive episodes, as well as live Q&As, and you can get your personal questions answered by our guests every single week. For me, being able to collaborate and communicate back and forth with our Patreon community every week has been huge, and this is my way of saying thank you for the cost of a cup of coffee a month.